Great. I think we are going. Wonderful. Okay. So welcome everyone. My name is Reggie Costanzo and I am the resource manager here at Brain Northwest. Thank you for joining us in one of our health and wellness classes. We are fortunate to have Natasha with us today from Northwest Access Fund. She's going to be doing the first in our series that they are hosting with us for how to make a budget and save. Definitely beneficial information for most or all of us. Natasha has a background as a certified accredited financial counselor and certified benefits planner, and also is one of the financial coaches at Northwest Access Fund. So, Natasha, thank you for being here with us today. And I am just grateful that I get to learn along with everyone else. So, take it away.
Well, thank you so much, Reggie, for that extremely warm introduction. So my name's Natasha. I'm an accredited financial counselor. I'm a financial coach with Northwest Access Fund, and I'm excited to share this information with you today. What we'll be discussing is how to make a budget and save. And we'll have a little bit of a brief overview about what is Northwest Access Fund, what do we do, and then we'll jump into that content on how to budget and how to save. I do want to let you know that time for questions is built into the presentation, and these questions will be addressed at the designated times. So you may find that your questions tend to get answered as we go through the presentation, but I will encourage you to feel free to type your questions into the chat and they'll be addressed as we get to those designated question times. I also want to let you know that if you're attending today, you will be receiving a copy of the slides afterwards. Freddie's going to send those out to everybody. So if you're taking notes, please don't feel pressured to write everything down at once. You are going to have these materials available to you to review. So let's go ahead and get started with an overview of Northwest Access Fund. As a little bit of background information, Northwest Access Fund is a 501(c)(3) nonprofit and community development financial institution, or CDFI. Our mission is that we offer people with disabilities customized loans, financial coaching, and other resources to promote access to assistive technology, independence, financial resilience, and life opportunities. We deliver on our mission by providing low interest loans and financial coaching, including business services, and referrals to appropriate resources. These services are offered to people of all incomes, all ages, and with disabilities of all types, including seniors with age related functional limitations. Our loan program includes loans for a variety of purposes, including our assistive technology loan, which can be used to purchase all types of assistive technology, wheelchairs, guided dogs, hearing aids, computers, anything that can be considered assistive technology. And that loan can go up to $25,000. Our modified vehicle loan can be used to purchase a vehicle adapted to accommodate a disability, the chassis of a vehicle that will be adapted, or adaptations to be installed into an existing vehicle, such as hand controls or chair lifts. And that type of loan can go up to $60,000. Our home modification loan can be used to modify the home of a person with a disability in a way that will improve their quality of life. Common uses for this I see are ramps, shower modifications, widening of doorways, or stair lifts. That can be up to $60,000 as well. And our opportunity loan is kind of a catch for all other purposes that don't fall neatly into the other categories. It's seen as used for things like moving expenses, refinancing high interest debt, car repairs, or credit building. And that can be up to $10,000. The interest rate on most types of our loans is 5%, except the modified vehicle loan, which has a rate that can vary. And all of our loans have no fees and no penalty for early payoff. In addition to the loans, we also offer free one-on-one financial coaching services. Coaches like me can work with you on a variety of things, including budgeting, saving, navigating resources, building credit. And our coaches are also certified benefits planners and can assist with things like applying for benefits, understanding and managing benefits, and navigating how income from work can impact your benefits. Coaching is always free and client directed, meaning that as our client, you decide what your goals are. We don't have like a specific program that you go through. And then our role as coaches is to support you in achieving your goals. Our youth program provides free education and support on financial basics and disability benefits for youth with disabilities ages 14 to 25 and their families as they transition into adulthood. So let's go ahead and jump right into budgeting. We're going to think of budgeting as a plan for your money. And the whole process is going to be driven by your goals and what you want. So it can be easy to just spend money without really knowing where it's going. And that might mean you're spending money in ways that don't match your goals or values. We're going to go through these steps. Know your goals, know your income, track your expenses, make a plan, and then track your progress to make sure your budget does match your goals and values. So, step one is to know what your goals are. What do you want to accomplish with budgeting? Feel free to type yours in chat if you'd like to share. But some people may want to make sure bills are paid on time, find money for saving, or budget for a future expense like a rent increase or a payment for a new car. After you've set your goals, the next step is to know your income. So, income can change every month, especially if you work part-time. We recommend you track your income and know exactly how much you have available. And you need to know how much money you're working with, which are your sources of income, and when it comes in. Some examples of sources of income are things like work, benefits such as ABD, SSI, SSDI, or SNAP. And there are other sources of income as well. Feel free to drop those in chat if you have any you'd like to share. And other sources of income might be support from family or interest on investments, things of that nature. So it's your money and you decide what to do with it. There's a lot of different ways you can use your money. How do you use the money you earn? Again, if you'd like to share, you can drop that in chat and I'll go over some of the ways that you can use your income. So you can save it, whether that's in CDs, savings accounts, or investments. If you do choose to invest and are receiving public benefits with asset limits, be careful not to let your investments put you over those limits. You can spend it on your needs, wants, and obligations, or you can share it to help care for friends or family members or give to organizations. So when you're making a plan for spending your money, you'll need to take some time to think about what you want and what you need and how to tell the difference. Let's watch a short video here that explains.
Needs versus wants. Food and water, shelter, clothing, these are our basic needs. But do they really stop there? What do you really need? Do you need a phone? What about a smartphone? Do you need a tablet for school? Or a computer? Everyone is going to answer those questions differently because every person has different wants and needs. Just because you really want something, that doesn't mean you need it. So how do you determine what is truly a need and what is just a really big want? Try asking yourself some basic questions. If I didn't have this item, would I still be able to function in life and keep up with my commitments? Or will not having this item severely affect my life in a negative way? For example, if I didn't have a car, getting to work would be a major challenge. But does this mean I need a brand new car? Or will the dependable car I have work? After you've spent some time determining what in your life is a want and what is actually a need, you have to figure out how many of those wants you can actually afford. Because there's no way we can afford all the things we want at once. Give them a ranking and start saving.
Trying to go again. There we go. So one of the most important things you can do with your money is to pay your bills on time every time. Paying your bills on time helps you to save money by avoiding late fees and penalties, keep your services going, like your utilities and your phone, keep your housing, establish and build credit, and establish and build your reputation. Where is your money going? track your spending and find out. There's a lot of different ways to track your spending. On screen, we have some examples of free apps you can use, but your bank or credit union might also have a spending tracker built into their app. We recommend tracking your expenses for 30 days before you make your spending plan, and continue to track your spending after making that spending plan too, so you know which bills you're paying monthly and how much they are. If you use cash, you can also try using the envelope method to track and plan your expenses. So at this step, we're going to make your budget. You can use an app, a fillable form, a spreadsheet, or paper for this step. Take the information from your spending tracker and your income to create your budget. There are three things that can happen when you make your budget. Either you have enough money, you have more than you need, or you don't quite have enough. So here are some suggestions of questions you can ask for each scenario. If your budget breaks even, do you have savings and are you able to pay all your bills on time? If your budget has a surplus, do you want to save it or spend it? And if your budget has a deficit, are you able to increase your income or decrease your expenses? Can you increase or change work? Are there public benefits you could apply for, or could you comparison shop for cheaper options? So what happens if you can't pay your bills? Happens if you can't pay a bill, try to contact the creditor and ask for a payment plan or to defer for a month or two. Most people will try to work with you, especially if you usually pay on time and if you call before you start missing the payments. If there are times where you can't pay all your bills, prioritize and pay what you can. Priorities should be things like housing expenses, like rent and utilities, things that help you find or keep a job, like transportation, a cell phone, or maybe childcare. Things that can maybe wait are things like debt payments, such as credit cards, student loans, other loans, and collections debts that you may have. If your income is low or you have no income, there are many public benefits programs or community resources that you might be able to access. If you need help to see if you qualify for a public benefit or need help to apply, you can schedule a one-on-one session and we can help you. You can also go to washingtonconnection.org to see what you may be eligible for, and I'll go ahead and throw that in chat as well. Grab that link. There we go. All right. So you may not be eligible for or need these programs right now, but it's also important to know what resources are available to help meet your basic needs if that does become necessary. So does anyone have questions on what we've covered up to this point before we move forward into the savings and review portion?
If anyone has questions, feel free to come off of mute or drop your question in the chat, and I can ask Natasha your question as well. This is really helpful. This is really helpful information. Also coupled with the fact that if people want a little more support or guidance, they can make an appointment with you all. That's wonderful because these topics can be really overwhelming and hard to kind of break into bite-sized pieces. And I just wanted to, before we move on, if people don't have questions, I just want to commend those who are here today, Kendra and Brianna, and also just the empowerment that can come from getting an understanding of our finances. You know, I know for me that I wasn't raised talking about money, and I wasn't raised to learn and wasn't educated about good spending habits or ways to make my money grow. And so it's really exciting that we can learn to do that at any point and that we can really have an opportunity. So this is super supportive. Thank you, Natasha.
Yeah, and I'm so glad you mentioned, Reggie, that like a lot of people are not raised to talk about money. A lot of the time, that's something that's like secret or taboo. So a lot of people feel like you have to do this by yourself, and you absolutely do not have to navigate this by yourself. There are people in your life, whether that's family, friends, or us as coaches or other professionals who want to help with this type of thing.
I did have a quick question
But
on that, just for the benefit of the folks that are here and just my own knowledge. I recognize the value of being able to have like kind of peer connection or being able to have other people kind of as accountability partners or other folks who are going through this to just kind of dispel some of the myths or some of the shame or the confusion. Do you all offer any kind of like financial support groups for folks that are going through and trying to recreate some of their financial picture?
um, we don't have support groups, but that is a great option, and I will definitely be taking that back with me. But we
Okay.
are going to talk about, we're going to touch a little bit on accountability buddies later in the presentation. So I'm glad you
Great.
mentioned that as well.
You bet.
But it seems
Thanks,
like there
Natasha.
aren't any questions. So
I
let's go
actually
ahead
had
and
one
move,
super quick if you don't mind.
Go
please.
for it.
So I am with the brain injury recovery program for the WDVA, and we have a group of veterans that we meet once a month. And I know a lot of them have mentioned like wanting more um to gain independence and whatnot through understanding financial literacy. And so I think this is kind of um exactly what a resource they've been looking for. And so what is the best way to connect to your organization?
Great question. So we are available to connect with by phone or online. I'm actually going to be sharing those at the very end, but I can also go ahead and drop the phone number at least in chat now. Um, and we have the availability to book either again by phone or online. Don't have immediate access to that link on hand, but I will share that at the end. But yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Any other questions before we move forward? All right. So let's
I
go
have a
and
question. Um, what are like investments that you can like withdraw money from that you're not like locked into like for a long term, like maybe low risk investments that gain interest, but if you need it, you can withdraw the money from.
so that's a good question. I do want to let you know investments are actually outside the scope of what we cover at our organization. Investments do require special licensures that I do not have. But I will encourage you, if you do have a relationship with a bank already, most banks do have licensed bankers who can discuss investments with you, and that can be a really good place to start. I'm sorry I didn't have a specific answer on that, but investments, again, are very complicated and a little bit outside of my scope of knowledge.
Oh, that's okay. I'll check with my bank. Thank you.
Yeah, thank
I
you.
had a thought too, Natasha, and I'm wondering what you think about this, and maybe you can or can't speak to it, but I've recently learned about some uh, checking accounts or savings accounts. There's different organizations that offer like kind of like online banking, but they have higher interest rates. Um, like sometimes like 4 or 5% compared to what a lot of banks offer for savings accounts. And that, you know, I'm not certified in any financial knowledge, but I don't know if that is something that is a possibility for people. It doesn't grow the money like it would be to invest it, but it's definitely a more productive savings account than a lot of banks offer. Do you know what I'm talking about? Some of those different
Yeah, it sounds like
options.
some of the high yield savings accounts, sometimes those can have like minimum amounts that need to be deposited into them. So always be careful to read the terms and conditions very, very carefully. You don't want to end up with a bunch of fees, but that is certainly an option that can be available. Of course, always be very careful that you're working with a reputable organization as well.
Very good point.
Wonderful. We're having a great conversation. Let's go ahead and move forward to savings since we were on that note anyway. But a lot of different goals, as we've talked about, need money. So for goals that do, your budget is kind of your plan for reaching them. Remember, like we discussed earlier, the very first step of budgeting is to know your goals. You can include saving for those goals as part of your budget. So saving money means setting aside income today to use at some point in the future. And saving can be hard, especially if you don't have enough income to meet your needs, obligations, or wants. When you do save money, you need to decide where you want to put it. Keeping your money in a savings vehicle offers safety. Let's talk about a few different options. So, traditional savings accounts are found at banks and credit unions. You're able to deposit and withdraw your money as needed. Funds do earn interest, but typically at a pretty low rate. CDs, or certificates of deposit, can be helpful if you struggle with impulse spending or wanting to spend money when you see it sitting in your account. You can deposit a fixed amount of money into a CD for a fixed period of time. Typically, this is between 6 months and 5 years, but it does depend on the institution. The CD will earn interest typically at a higher rate than a regular savings account, but you can't touch the money, either the original deposit or the earned interest, until the end of the fixed time period without paying a penalty. Able accounts are savings accounts for people with disabilities that began prior to age 26. Although I do want to note here that that is going to change next year in 2026. It's going to be for disabilities that began prior to age 46. And no, I'm not really sure how they got those numbers. But these are accounts that allow people to save without impacting their benefits. And we'll talk more about these on the next slide. So some public benefits have resource limits. If you receive SSI or Medicaid, you have a resource limit of $2,000. And if you do have a resource limit, you can use an ABLE savings account to help you save more. ABLE accounts are tax advantaged savings accounts for people with disabilities, again, that began prior to age 26. You can open an ABLE account at any age as long as your disability began before age 26. And ABLE accounts allow you to save without impacting your benefits because they are not counted as a resource for these different types of resource limits. So, how do you open one? You'll need $25 for an opening deposit, and you can find more information on your state ABLE website or the ABLE National Resource Center. And both of those links are in the slide, which will be available to you later, but we're not going to click on them just now. So not every bill is due every month. These are called periodic expenses. You'll want to make a plan to budget and save for these expenses. And this does involve some planning ahead to ensure you don't run out of money when the bill comes due, but it can be done in just a few steps. So first, identify your periodic or irregular expenses and their amounts on a yearly basis. Total all your irregular expenses and divide by 12. Budget for and plan to save this amount every month to use when the bills come due. Some people find it helpful to have a dedicated savings account, sometimes referred to as a revolving savings account, to use for these irregular expenses. Some banks even offer buckets within a traditional savings account that you can set up to help you save for specific expenses or goals. And some examples of things that might be irregular expenses are vehicle expenses, whether that's insurance, maintenance, or registration, pet care, holiday or birthday gifts, annual memberships, and taxes. Very much on our minds at this time of year. So an important part of tracking your progress is to review your budget regularly and update it as needed. Compare your budget with your spending tracker at the end of each month. If you're finding that your budget regularly has imbalances, whether that's positive or negative, you might want to consider revisiting some of the previous steps of the budgeting processes and make adjustments as needed. This can also help you see if your budget still matches your values and your goals. Are you struggling to stay on track with your budget? We'll go through a few tips. The first is to automate. You're more likely to stick with your plan if you set up automatic payments and transfers. That way you don't have to think about following the plan. Just do the work to set it up and make changes if you need to. Some of the things you may be able to automate are your savings with automatic transfers or having separate accounts, your bills by using online bill pay or auto pay and knowing when your bills are due, and tracking your budget with apps and checking your spending. Another tip is to build habits. We have some tips for building money habits, and if you have one to share, please feel free to put it in chat as well, and I'll go ahead and read ours. Comparison shop. You might even be able to find something free on a local Buy Nothing group. Plan for big purchases. This includes planning for smaller purchases that are not needs or obligations. Wait a week and then reevaluate how much you still want it. Pre-plan for impulse spending. If you struggle with impulse spending, pre-plan for it. You can build impulse spending into your budget if you know it's going to happen. And you can also create safeguards for yourself with things like preloading funds onto gift cards each month to spend on impulse purchases, knowing that when they run out for the month, they've run out. If you're finding impulse spending is making it difficult to stick to your budget, here's a few tips that might help. Again, use a gift card. You can preload funds onto a gift card or a prepaid debit card every month if you're impulsively spending on specific things like coffee or Amazon. And once those funds are gone for the month, they are gone. You can delete your saved cards from online accounts. I know that's a big one for me. If you don't save your credit or debit card information on online accounts, you have to manually type that number in, and it gives you a few more seconds to think, I really need to be doing this. You can use a cash budget, only carry cash when shopping, and only carry a predetermined amount so you're not able to spend more than you plan to. And you can tell someone about your goals. Ties in nicely with what we were talking about earlier. Having a trusted friend or family member aware of your desire not to impulse shop can help keep you. So budgeting and saving can feel overwhelming, especially when you're just getting started. Here are the steps to focus on. Identify your financial goals, pick a method and track your expenses. Track your expenses for 30 days before creating your budget, and use your spending tracker to guide you as you create your budget. If you're feeling stuck or need more support, schedule a meeting with one of our financial coaches and we can help. Any more questions? Again, you can type in chat or come off of mute. Totally up to you.
If you have any more questions, Brianna or Kendra, please feel free.
I don't have any
And
at
if
this
not,
time, but
that's
thank you.
You bet.
That's totally okay. And if you do think of any additional questions, you're welcome to reach out and schedule a one-on-one session. We can be reached at coaching@nwaccessfund.org. And then also at that phone number on the slide there. Also grab our website. Goodness gracious, I have so many tabs open. How did that happen?
That is very,
All
very
right.
common.
There we go. Here is the website if you would like to set up individual coaching. And then we also recently added what we're calling our Ask an Expert. If you just have like one single question that you need a quick answer to, rather than more complicated things. And I'll drop that link in here as well. There we go.
Excellent. That's wonderful to have that too. I so appreciate how you all continue to grow and adjust and add more options and just more ways for people to get empowered around finances. I wanted to thank you for the tips, the different strategies you were talking about on how to curb spending or to add in fun things with spending. You know, I think a lot of approaches that I've heard with budgeting don't have any play in them or don't budget for some fun. And it is important to, like you talk about, know what our values are for spending our money. And it might be, I like to take a family member out to dinner once a month. So I'm going to budget for that so I can look forward to it and not be concerned about the fact that I'm spending too much because I'm budgeting for that fund, whatever it might be. And so that really is so nice. The application and tips and tricks. I'm such a huge fan of that. So Natasha, thank you so much for giving us your time and your knowledge, and also the education about your organization and the wonderful resource that it is. I cannot say enough wonderful things about discovering you all. I'm so thankful. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Reggie. I appreciate the invitation to be here today, and I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day.
Thank
Thank
you.
you,
You
everybody.
too. Thank you everyone for joining.
Thank you so much. This was really, really great. I appreciate it.
Bye.